to West Third, and I'm here tonight for the Old School of Cameron for the Historical Preservation Society. There was a meeting last Thursday where there's actually been a couple of meetings where the City Council was made aware that there is a grant available through MOCAN that would be able to do several community projects. Ours was one on the list that had been discussed. Ours is unusual because ours is the only one that made it to the list that doesn't affect city property. The city does not own the 200 block that we are attempting to renovate. However, this particular grant is for community development and restructuring and does apply to historic buildings, and it would be a great opportunity for us. So I just wanted to thank you guys in advance for your consideration. If you would consider this project as a worthy one, we certainly do. The facts that we have garnered so far is that we are pretty much shovel ready. This particular grant does have a deadline that is impending on us very, very quickly. And I know that one of the required things is to have a PER, a preliminary engineering report, which we do have. And then it would require a letter of intent or letter of acceptance, which we have, that would allow us to accept grant monies from the city because the buildings are not your property. So we're in an unusual position to have a great opportunity. And some people might look at things as problems. I like to look at them as opportunities. And that is this. You guys would initially say, okay, let's apply for this grant. It would mean that if we do receive the grant, you have to match it with $1 million, but you get $2.5 million for doing that. And if we don't get the grant, then you don't lose the $1 million. You don't lose anything. We're right back to where we started from. So it's all just a matter of, do y'all figure that we're worth taking a chance on? Not us, but do you figure that the buildings are worth taking a chance on? And for me, myself, I've always believed that. And for the past couple of years, I've been very passionate about it. So I just wanted to share with you guys the new information that we've received. We already have the engineer's report, which would be basically a study.
This meeting, however, the park board would like to fill this position sooner so that they can have another person at their meeting coming up next Thursday. So if there are no objections, would you guys consider doing the appointment tonight?
Yes.
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 Is there any objections? Okay. Where is it going?
I think I didn't put it on there. I apologize because I didn't realize when I would have put this together.
I just want to get the name right.
Oh, Joshua Smith.
All right. Honorable yeses, do hereby appoint Joshua Smith to the park board. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 5 in favor, 0 opposed.
I will make those notifications then.
Congratulations, Josh. Okay. Thank you guys for being flexible. Next item on the agenda is the city manager's report.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I have 3 things I wanted to note, 2 that I put in your packet, and 1 additional item. The first thing is the Aquatic Center After Action Report. Staff met this last week with Midwest Pool, and we went through a thorough after action review. We've got that out in draft now to make sure everybody has on it what they believe is correct, and we'll get that back out to all of you. And at this stage of the game, it's a memo, and we appreciate any input you've got to it, but at least we've done the first step in it, so we have a draft of that. I've been asked where it is, and we're working on it, and we'll get it to you soon. The second item is the Missouri Recycling Association Annual Conference. As you know, Councilman Curtis and I are the city's representatives to the Region D Waste Management and Recycling Organization, which is kind of affiliated with ENR. I went to the annual conference last week. It was in Independence, and I wanted to give you a copy here of the outline of the schedule, so you can all take a look at that. And if there's anything on there that is of interest to you, you can let me know. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. Two things were important, and it made a real impression on me at the opening remarks. And they were talking about recycling is not just a way to save landfill area, but what it does is it makes it so that we don't have to use up new resources so quickly in terms of metal and wood and that kind of thing. And so recycling serves those two purposes, and that is important. And we saw that throughout the conference. The other thing I wanted to point out, which was interesting, is throughout they emphasized the fact that only 79% of recycling costs are recovered. So what happens is all recycling ends up costing us money, and somewhere that has to be repaid. There are 86 sheltered workshops in the state. All of them but 3 lose money, a lot of money. Ours does not lose money, but one of the reasons is we do pay a little. We kind of subsidize it a little in the city, so they do break even. But all the other ones, most of the rest of the state cost money, and recycling only recovers 79% of its cost. So how does that work? Well, the other has to come from somewhere, and so there are a lot of people who are very passionate about it. It comes from business, it comes from volunteers, it comes from a lot of work. But how do you do that? Well, you do that because it's kind of the right thing to do. We need to move in that direction. But it loses money, and so everybody works very hard at it. You see on the list there are a lot of good presentations, but those are a couple of the major takeaways, and I have more if you would like. And that brings me to the third thing, and that is our own curbside recycling. As you know, we do not have our work release, and will not get that for the foreseeable future, and so the warden told me not to depend on it. Staff is working the options now. There aren't very many good options, but we're working with R&W to see how we could get some work there. We're working with Clenco to see how they would do it, and we're also looking at how we would do it if we have to hire some additional staff. I only let you know that because all of these options will probably require some kind of a rate increase, and so we wanted to at least get it on the table so you would see that coming. But we're working as hard as we can to figure out the various options and how we can minimize that as much as possible. And when we get the options put together, we'll bring those back to you. And that's all I have, Mayor. Do you have any questions for me? Anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item, unfinished business, nothing. New business. We have first the Clinton County Initiative presentation, Ms. Stephanie Wade.
Hello, guys. I come here and have so many different hats, but this is a different one, maybe. These, I think, were included in your packet, but if you don't have it, there's another copy. And then Teresa, the lady back here, Teresa Wren, is from Turney, Missouri, and works at Central Bank. I am from Cameron, but we are a group of volunteers from Clinton County. We try to represent all of the communities within the county, and our purpose is simply to help our county thrive, not just survive. They rhyme, totally different things. But the point is, we have spent the last couple of years researching, surveying the residents of Clinton County. In fact, back in 2021, we sent postcards to all the residences within Clinton County. Some of them kind of filtered over, you know, like Osborne has Clinton County, but it also has DeKalb. But over 7,000 were sent out, and we did get, I don't know, it doesn't sound like a big number, but for surveys, it's really good. We had over 240 responses to the survey. We compiled those results of what people thought was why they lived in Clinton County, what did they love, what did they value about living here, what did they wish the county had. What type of things did they think, not necessarily were missing, but did they think would make this a better place to live? And then finally, the third one, or the last part we wanted, was what kind of things could we we work on together that maybe one specific community could not do on their own? Were there initiatives, were there projects that were more suited for a county, not just a community? So, as I said, we're volunteers, we've come together, we started in February with community forums. We started here in Cameron last February, that each month we traveled to a different community and just had listening sessions. Let people say what it is they thought was important. And then we helped them prioritize those through our discussions. Would you put this as a high priority, medium, low, and so on? So, we have all those. I'm gonna tell you, it was cool. It was okay, I'm a data person. I love, if you give me a spreadsheet, I'm a happy lady. But this was so cool, because you could quantify it. It was, you could figure this out. So, we even broke them down by community. What did people in Cameron, Gower, Plattsburgh, Trimble, and Lathrop have to say? And what we found is there were a lot of commonalities between the 5 communities where we met. And we thought that was wonderful. In almost every community, better sidewalks and walking programs for wellness with more lighting on the streets and the parks. I'm gonna say, duh. I mean, I have seen that here in our paper and listening to the radio and just paying attention. But that's something important for us, and it was in the others. More access to food and dining options. Again, these were things that were all across the board. But we looked at 4 areas, because all 4 of these areas on the backside of your paper, all 4 of these areas are interconnected. You may not realize it, but they are. If you were at Chamber last week, sorry, but because I kind of gave a little bit of a spiel there. But our economy, we've got to have a strong economy. We have to be welcoming and open to development. It doesn't, change is hard, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. You just have to figure out what kind of change is acceptable. Education, we want a strong educational system, and we're not just talking our pre-K through 12, which you know that I'm a big proponent of that, but also our lifelong learning. Do we have opportunities in our community for people to continue to live and thrive and learn and prosper? Those are connected. Our health and safety. You know, if people don't feel safe in our communities, then they're going to leave. If they don't feel like there's health, like the walking paths and things to help them have better health, access to medical care, things like that, they're gonna leave. All of these things are connected. And finally, the quality of life. And those are the things that I know this council has worked on with the aquatic center and the ball complex. I can't wait. I have 2 grandsons who play soccer, and I'm tired of having to always go to Lawson and Lathrop and Plattsburgh and Kearney. I want to have them here more. So I think, if you can see, all of these things are interconnected. So why am I here? Well, because we want you to be part of this, okay? Yes, we're volunteers, but we also want more input. So we have a meeting on Tuesday morning, October 25th, 8:30 at the community courtyard in Plattsburgh. It's right across the street from City Hall and just half a block actually from the courthouse. But at 8:30, we're gonna come together and we're gonna dive a little deeper into some of the results from the survey and start trying to figure where is it feasible and where are we able to make a difference. A couple of things that we've already kind of worked on, and Teresa, help me out if I forget something. We were part of the group that tried to get got funding for down in the Turney area for the high-speed internet within 3-mile radius of Turney. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it was an experiment to see if this type of technology would work. Are you close enough to that?
Yes.
Were you able to take part in that?
Yes.
And what was your?
It's better than what we had.
Okay. So, you know, one of our priorities is to try to get high-speed internet to the end of the road. Our kiddos cannot do their homework if they don't have high-speed internet. Our people this is a wonderful opportunity opportunity for Clinton County when people started working from home, because they could live where they have starry nights, but also have access to city lights. But without high-speed internet, that's not possible. So that was one thing, and we worked with the, what's it called? Missouri Science and Technology University. So we worked with them on that. Another one, students in Plattsburgh, they were wanting to go to more project-based learning and trying to help them understand what they needed to move to the next level in a career. Not just the book learning part, but the practical application. And so we assisted in different ways, but helped them get a student-run store open in Plattsburgh. It's called Tigers on Main. And my little heart thought, oh, wouldn't that be awesome if we could do something similar in every community in Clinton County, where our kiddos could learn what it's like to balance the books, to make sure they're running at a profit, to work with local vendors. So we helped get that going. The University Extension Office rents part of the building from them, and then there's a small little conference room that can also be utilized in the community. Help me. Those are our two big ones so far. So, but we are trying to put together things that are beneficial for the county, not just a specific one, but you gotta start somewhere, right? So we're hoping to see this grow. We're hoping to see people take an interest in Clinton County and try to, I always say we can do more when we try to affect a positive change. The old expression, attract more flies with honey than the vinegar. So that's part of what we're doing. But the 25th, Tuesday morning, Community Courtyard, 8:30. At that meeting, Tyler Farrell from MoCan Regional Council is going to come, because him and I had a short meeting, and there are some things on the project list that has come up from the community forums that he said there may be some potential funding that can help get some of these things off the ground. So that's gonna be a topic of discussion that day also.
Stephanie, did you want to mention the possibility of a community calendar for all?
Oh, yeah, see? A brain snap here. One of the things that we think would be a benefit to all of our communities is if we could have some type of countywide calendar, something put together so we know when Lathrop's having their Friendship Festival, when Plattsburgh's having their Fall Festival, Gower having Gower Days, our March Fest. If we could put something together and they're gonna go, ooh, Cameron's already having March Fest this weekend, let's not do our Fall Festival the same weekend. So we could have more opportunities to draw visitors to our county. If we're competing against each other for people to be in all our county communities on the same day, it's not gonna be as beneficial. But yeah, countywide calendar so we can keep track of the events going on. So, a lot of them are brain surgery, but they are things that I think would be of benefit. Do you guys have questions for us? Okay. Hey, as I said, we're a bunch of volunteers.
Thank you very much
Yep.
for all you've done. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Bill 2022-42.
Bill 2022-42, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of an engagement letter establishing accounting solutions as the City of Cameron's auditor for 3 consecutive years.
Chair will entertain a motion to pass Bill 2022-42.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
All right, Carmen was gonna be here, but she was unavoidably detained. So I will just let you know that once we got notice from Sickich that they were no longer gonna be our auditing firm, we immediately set out proposals for auditing services back in September. We got those solutions back at the first of this month. We did send out packets to 5 firms, and then I gave some out at MML, and we had some late companies that we found out about that we did send some out to. We got 2 responses. A lot of the places that I called around to see if they were gonna bid, they just didn't have the staffing, or, there was one that did not following generally accepted, accounting principles, which I thought was odd, but for an auditing firm, and that was one of our requirements, that you have to standardize and do it by. So anyway, we did get 2 proposals back. Carmen and Jim looked through them very closely. They were both qualified, they both have experience with auditing cities. The difference in price was significant, and so we are recommending Accounting Solutions. They said that they would do the audits for this year and the next 2 years for $25,000 a year. The other one was gonna be $36,000 a year. And if we do need a single audit, which we probably will, not for the current 2022 budget year that we're doing, but we probably will for next year, because if you expend more than $750,000 in federal funds, which we have received ARPA money, but we haven't expended the ARPA money. So once we do start expending that, we will have to do a single audit for that. So, since we are into our fiscal year 23, and we need to start working on this audit right away, we would like a full reading tonight, so that we don't delay it any further.
Anyone have any questions?
Looks like you've done your due diligence.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to pass Bill 2022-42 on the first reading.
Second.
Get to vote, we already did the motion in a second.
All right. All in favor of passing Bill 2022-42 on the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair will entertain a motion to pass Bill, to suspend the rules and pass Bill 2022-42 for a full reading.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Dennis M. Clark,
Yes.
Becky Curtis,
Yes.
Julie Osmus,
Yes.
Alexander Williams,
Yes.
Roy Estes.
Yes. Next item on the agenda, Resolution 2022-45.
Resolution 2022-45, a resolution for the city of Cameron, Missouri to authorize the renaming, updating, and reclassification of a job description in the city of Cameron's salary matrix.
Chair will entertain a motion to pass Resolution 2022-45.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Thank you very much, Mayor. Upon completion of the recruitment process for the Public Works Director position, the staff desired to add engineering services to the job description and rename the position as Public Works Director / City Engineer, and regrade the position to a salary grade 12. Attached, you'll find a resolution to that effect.
Anyone have any questions? Comments?
And attached there, as you see, there was the job description and copy of the matrix.
All in favor of passing Resolution 2022-45, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
4 in favor, 1 opposed. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2022-46.
Resolution 2022-46, a resolution accepting a bid through the Missouri Department of Transportation Cooperative Procurement Program for a 2022 John Deere 4052M compact utility tractor and Frontier FM 1015R finished mower attachment.
Chair will entertain a motion to pass Resolution 2022-46.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Well, I don't know in your packet if you got very much information on the mowers, but this has already been presented to the park board with essentially 5 different options. We went to our local, Heritage Tractor, or I'm sorry, Heartland Tractor, and tried to get local, with their Case IH and their Kubotas. Neither of the two were able to be delivered in for this next season. So that pretty much eliminated them from the bidding process. From there, we looked at 2 different John Deere, same make and model, but opted to go with, and New Holland from Pride Freeze down in Kearney. But the make and model we looked at, spec'd out, was like a smaller utility tractor that could still pull a 15-foot batwing finish mower. And essentially, this is to keep up with the demand of the new park, and where one person can mow the same as 3 of our current mowers. So it'll speed up the process to maintain the soccer fields and ball fields and any of that larger spread out area. But we really got pretty lucky because using the Missouri MoDOT government bidding, but the Ag Power in Easton actually had a tractor, what we spec'd out on their lot, that is new, but then they were gonna sell it, but whoever backed out on it, so it's sitting there ready to go, with the mower that we're looking at as well. So that's the difference between the 56,000 from Ag Power versus the 61 from John Deere in Smithville. It's the same governmental bid, but since they already had it all on hand, they didn't have to order it. So essentially, we can take possession of that pretty much immediately. But the recommendation from the park board is to purchase from Ag Power out of Easton the 4052M compact tractor with the Frontier mower, 15-foot batwing to pull behind it to keep up on the mowing.
Does this have a warranty?
Yes, it does have a warranty, full warranty with John Deere's. I don't have that in front of me as far as what it is, but it does have full warranty. That was one of the requirements from the park board, so.
I know that was, yeah, but I never got the answer, so
Okay.
that's why I was.
Yep, I got a hold of the salesman, and it comes with a full warranty, just like, it is brand new, so it still comes with that.
And is this 100% out of the park board budget?
Yes. It's being funded with the new park tax, the construction.
And how did, you told us at Park Board, but how long of a lifespan do you think this might have?
Oh, wow, years. New tracking, you maintain something like this. I know we have a New Holland that we've had for close to 20 years, and it's still kicking pretty good, so well, it should last quite a while.
So are we selling the other one?
No, we're gonna keep it. We still use it. It's not big enough to pull that finish mower, so that's that biggest deal.
Any questions? Comments? Thank you, Steve. All right. All in favor of passing resolution 2022-46, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Next on the agenda is the discussion of community revitalization program grants.
Thank you very much, Mayor. We've had a couple of opportunities to talk about this. We keep moving forward. It's complicated and you don't have so many definitive answers, but I'm gonna ask Zach and Tim to give 2 positions on it, not necessarily those are recommendations, but that way we have information for you. We'll start out with Tim.
Yes, sir. Handout.
I've not seen this before.
It's updated a little bit. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we had some other things, you know, some playground equipment in the rec park, and some of those things, so we had a little bit in there.
Let me first start off by saying that there was a community revitalization workshop put on by Department of Economic Development this afternoon. I was fortunate enough to sit in on that. Unfortunately, we didn't get our questions answered. They were answering a lot of questions related to the process of application and funding. You know, you had an opportunity to send in your questions last week, which Houston Roberts with MoCan did do that, and also did it as well as today. The one question that we wanted to get answered was, could we use our continuing service agreement list? They unfortunately did not answer that question during the workshop. I tried to call the host or the presenter for the workshop. His phone was ringing off the hook. So we are still desperately trying to get an answer for that. But the list that I just handed out to you is a revised list of prospective projects for the community. One being the community center, 1.1 million, 3rd Street buildings, 1.3 million. The library, we figured in about 300,000. The ADA trail completion, 500,000. And then the pickleball playground, 450,000. And then also we threw in there tiny homes at 384,000. And then a replacement of the playground equipment at Rec Park. Again, these are prospective projects that will, I can't say they're 100% eligible for the grant, but that's what we will submit. Or if this list change, this will be part of the list that we'll submit to MoCan to work on for that grant.
When we talked to Tyler Farrell, what did he say his guess was about using the continuing service agreement?
His professional opinion, he stated that the continuing service agreement would be okay. Again, but that's not a definite answer. But that's what he said. You know, he said he deals with the Department of Economic Development and Community Development block grants a lot. Based on his feel for the state, he feels like it won't be a problem.
I appreciate you pushing forward and getting a solid answer on that. Thank you for your persistence.
It was I would say 500 people probably on that call, that workshop today. I mean, you couldn't, you know, unmute and say, hey, I got a question. All you can do is type in your question, hope for a response. So my plan is to call that gentleman the first thing tomorrow morning before he gets out of bed and try to get the answer.
Good for you.
Hey, Tim.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yes.
the list that we saw last week had sidewalks on here. I was just wondering why that was removed.
Good question.
When they talked about we couldn't use it for transportation, but they thought we could use it for sidewalks,
Yes.
and they were gonna get us a specific answer. So
Yes.
we're not really any farther ahead than we were on Thursday.
No, we're not.
Sidewalks are important.
And if I get a hold of the gentleman tomorrow, I will ask that question to see if we can include sidewalks on the project. This is just a prospective list. It's not written in stone or anything, so.
I was just curious. I didn't know if there was like some kind of change I wasn't aware of that made the sidewalks not viable.
Nope. So, any other questions?
Where do the tiny homes come from? I know what they are, but where do they come from?
That was something that Gina Reed had submitted, like possible projects. If you look at that workshop application on the grant application, it does specifically call out housing for homeless and all that. So that would be, to me, if you're asking me, would be a good qualifier for the grant.
Does this 384,000 also include the infrastructure and the land?
I was gonna say, there has to be land for this.
It would have to include the land, land purchase, or if we already have the land, and a whole bunch of.
And monitoring.
Yeah, monitoring. You also can use it for securing property, demoing properties. If you secure property to change it into a homeless shelter, you can use it for that. So that's what I took away from reading the grant.
I think it's all great, it's just like, we really need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to talk about it later if you want me to. Well, and the other thing is, do we have a PER on it?
No.
So how many of the things on this list do we have that?
Nothing right now. I think,
That's not true.
Third Street's
We
got-
have a PR, we are shovel ready.
you got a feasibility study.
We called, they're getting the PER, we'll have it within days.
Okay. So PER from Third Street, and I believe the park system has been working with their engineers.
Yeah, I think I've heard that. I've heard that.
Can I ask a question of Mrs. Reed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you got your, study done on the structure of the buildings, that include everything like the basement, the foundation, and everything you were gonna need to fix?
It included everything. It included the basement, foundation, replacement of any windows and doors, the precipits, the limestone windowsills, the plaster, everything.
Complete renovation.
Well, complete.
The feasibility study had a list of things he wanted completed. At the end, the $900 and some odd $1,000 was for the exterior. We're going to fix the insides ourselves.
So, okay, so there was nothing wrong with the basements or the foundations? Or you're going to fix that yourselves?
The repairs that needed to be done were in the feasibility study. That's part of the $900,000. I said we're gonna be working on the interiors like plaster and, you know, and the drywall ourselves.
Okay, so, but you said the $900 some odd $1,000 was for the exterior of the building?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, do the basements and the foundation and the basements need to have some work done to them?
To my knowledge, there's one side that they recommended that there was the minor things that needed to be done. All in all the basements and foundations, they called it good.
Okay, so that
I
money.
believe there was one corner that they had a minor concern about.
So is that money included in that
The money is
$900,000?
included, yes, all of the exterior money is included. Then the list included, a recommendation for interior repairs, that was not included in the $900,000. And I apologize if I did not make that clear from the get-go. That's probably where, I apologize, I think I didn't clarify.
Okay,
Thank you.
So how do we get from 900,000 to 1.3?
That's what my question was.
So the feasibility study they got basically tell you whether or not the buildings are repairable, which anything is repairable. So they're gonna get a preliminary engineering report to give you the detailed scope of work. Then they're gonna have to get a engineer design repair to actually do the work.
So how do we get from $900,000 to 1.3?
These numbers.
She just said they pretty much
May I
had all of
address
that.
Mr. Tim?
Yes.
There was a percentage in the feasibility study that the city received a copy of, that he said it could go 20 to 30% above or below that number based on prevailing costs of what's going, because of the, since COVID, it's really hard to get building materials. In addition, any of that money left over could be used to replace the heating and cooling units that were taken out of those buildings when we were given possession, so we don't have the frost freeze problems anymore, and the bricks don't get damaged from it being extremely cold and extremely hot. So we would use any of that difference to fix the HVAC.
Okay, thank you.
That way there wouldn't be any more, risk to the structure of the building from the frost freeze cycle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's.
Would the Historical Society be willing to borrow the money for the match for this grant? I guess the way I thought all this was going to happen was we made it into the 501c3 so you could qualify for grants. And then if it's $1 million, say, to fix the whole thing, and 30% match, you guys would borrow the $300,000, get the whole thing done, and then maybe keep one for you and then sell it. So you would have the equity of $1 million in the buildings, done, finished. Is that clear as mud?
Uh-huh. Seems to me.
So you would have $400,000 when it's all said and done into $2 million worth of buildings, or $1 million worth of buildings. But I thought that's how that was going to come about. I guess I was wrong completely.
When I sat in on that workshop today, they also mentioned that each, you know, like we talk about the 3 different entities for this community revitalization project, each entity has to file their own application. So I believe we were not aware of that, so we're gonna be looking at that too. I mean, you can have a conjoined project, but each entity has to fill out an application.
What do you mean by entity?
The city, the Historical Preservation Society, the library, and whoever.
And so if the city has more than one project, they have to fill out more than one application for each project that they wanna do?
If the city has, you know, I'm just guessing, I was just talking to Houston Robin about that, because we used St. Joe as an example. If they got multiple projects, will they be required to fill out an application for each project? My thinking was, because the city controls and operates that project and property, they would only be required to submit one application.
My understanding is this is
And
a
that's fine.
community revitalization grant, and the whole purpose of the revitalization was that it would be doing projects like this. The library wouldn't be taking out a loan for their portion either. You guys would be putting up the $1 million for the matching, and then you get 2.5 increase for your time and trouble. The 2.5 that you wouldn't have had before. If we apply for the grant and we don't get it, you keep the $1 million, so there's no risk to anyone. The library isn't borrowing any money from matching funds either. We're just one of the projects that would be upping the points on this grant to make it an easier qualifier, because downtown revitalization is one of the specific things. It was listed on the grant that they were looking for to give us the money in the first place.
Done.
Yeah. It's a.
If that makes sense.
It's a competitive grant.
Because you're saying one thing, you're saying another in my mind, so I'm kind of lost. Am I right? Is that what I'm hearing? 2 different things.
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, this is all kind of like we don't know anyway, so.
Like I said, we're not any better off
Right,
than we were
that's
Thursday
what I was
night.
thinking. We don't really know what's going to qualify, what's not gonna qualify.
So what do
So
you
we
think
can
is
sit there
happening
and spin our
tomorrow?
wheels.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a call tomorrow morning, and I'll also reach out to MoCan to see if they heard anything.
So basically I want to know if we have to do these individually or by whatever you just said. That's kind of important.
So in other words, if the parks want some of that money, they have to fill out their own application. And if the Historical Society wants part of that money, they have to
Is
fill
that what
out
he's
their own
saying?
application.
Yeah, that's what he said. Besides parks.
Besides
Besides
parks,
parks.
and then the city, whatever projects they wanna do,
Parks
that,
is part of the city.
So the community, I was wondering, parks and the community center are all part of
The
the
city, yeah.
city, so that wouldn't, right?
Right,
Yeah.
that already won.
so is the
That's what I was
only one that we're talking about, the Historical Society?
Mhm. Yes.
They have to fill out their own.
The library is also.
The library, yeah, the library and,
It's a political subdivision, we learned that last time
Okay.
together.
yeah. And I don't know the reasoning behind that.
This is a political subdivision.
But I would get more information and report back to you guys.
So, is there any, I guess my thing is, I don't believe we're gonna be able to do this tonight. So is there anything that's not on this list that the council would like to add to the list, so we would have the answers for eligibility when we do bring this together?
Yes,
Yes.
and I don't know if this is possible. One of the things that we talked.
You don't know if any of them
I
possible.
know, okay. Water and utilities to the industrial park, because we're using, the year back, when we decided that we had, $1.8 million, but we could have it in 2 separate years. We talked a lot about doing water and utilities to the industrial park, but then the new park needed the infrastructure that they didn't have the money for, so we gave that first $900,000 to that. So and we can always change it, but it was kind of my understanding that the second $900,000 was pretty much gonna go to the utilities, the industrial park. Okay. That money is what we're using to, so I just wanna know whether that's gonna be a possible project or not.
Another thing they said in the workshop, they said the projects have to be negatively impacted from COVID to qualify.
They have to be what?
Negatively impacted.
Impacted by COVID to qualify. Meaning, like for a small business, if they lost business because of COVID, had to shut down or something, and they wanna do like a facade grant or do some sort of renovations to their building, you know,
Okay,
those,
that's a new twist,
yeah, that's,
because how is pickleball and playground gonna be negatively impacted by COVID? How are the Fourth Street buildings gonna be negatively impacted by COVID? This is a new twist.
yeah, I mean, I was just as shocked as you when they said that, so, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered about this.
Yes.
So, are you wanting the utilities to the
It's not gonna be negatively impacted by COVID, and most of these on here aren't. So I don't know what you wanna do.
If I get a hold of that gentleman tomorrow, I will go down this list with him, but I got the sidewalks and utilities to the business industrial park.
Negatively impacted.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we as a city, our sales tax base increased during COVID, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Everybody started, staying here in town.
So I don't know what to tell you.
Mayor, there are a lot of unanswered questions that we'll continue to work that hard tomorrow, but of course Zach has the other alternative, you know, the option of not applying for this and just keeping the $1 million we've got. And I like that, if we could listen to his, so then you've got the two different options.
Perfect.
And one of the things is that the council had said for previous resolution that we won't apply for grants without the council permission, because they all have strings attached to them. We need to know what those strings are before we apply for them. So we're trying to get that information out.
Well, again, nobody wants to leave $2.5 million on the table of free money that we could utilize. There are certain risks that we take on by applying for these, and again, they come in the form of these PERs that we're gonna have to fill out for each one of these projects. If it's not funded, then we're still out that money. So that's, again, it's something that we want to be aware of. Just to touch on your note, we did apply for a grant through ARPA money, through DNR, to put the water line to the industrial park. So that, so we have, we're still, that's still on our radar. We're still working on that.
Okay.
If we weren't to use, you know, before we found out about this grant here just a couple weeks ago, obviously, you know, staff, we knew we were getting this second tranche of money, and again, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million. So again, staff has been talking about this for quite a while, and again, we've identified quite a few needs just within our facilities, and most commonly, this building right here, the city hall needs tremendous attention. We need new roofs. The bricks out in front are literally falling off the building. You can see the black mold in the building from the grain dust. It's time to reseal the outside of the building. We still got a couple AC units that we need to replace. We've got a new room downstairs that we need to create additional storage for plans and files. Our vaults are one. Like I said, we've got numerous projects here at City Hall that we need to address. But again, that would take, you know, probably in the neighborhood of probably somewhere around $500,000 to do most of these projects.
Thank you.
And again, I don't have an exact figure for it. And again, we've all just kind of been back in the napkin talking about some of these things. And the sad thing is that we all know that these repairs need to be done, but we haven't done them for the simple fact of we don't have any money to do them. So that's why we also thought this would be a good opportunity of one-time money. We get kind of everything back up to speed. We also talked about, when getting one on the list there was the community center. We know we do need to take care of the bathrooms and the entry and some things there. Like I said, we could also use the money for that. It wouldn't be as extensive as the $1.1 million that's on there, but we could still utilize that money for a portion of that. But again, like I said, we are leaving a little bit of money on the table, but I think that we would be addressing some pretty significant needs at the current time.
So you're saying we can use the ARPA money for this
Yes,
building?
you can use the ARPA money for this building, but you can't use the grant money for this building.
Gotcha, okay, right. I need that.
What about a $500,000 loader?
$500,000 what?
Loader.
It's not quite that much, it's like $185,000.
Oh, okay.
But I believe you could use the ARPA money for that. Not the grant money, because you could use our ARPA money that we admit.
I just wish I knew more about this grant. I can't really tell you where I'm at, one way or the other, if I'd rather apply or not. I don't know anything about it.
Well, and the other thing is that you pretty much have to have shovel-ready projects you're gonna miss out if you wait and get the PER on those projects and stuff like that, and we don't have
And
those.
apparently you have to draw a line between whatever project and COVID.
Right.
So,
I got a printout of the eligible activities, if I can read some of those off to you guys.
okay.
Impacted and disproportionately impacted households, development or repair of affordable housing, child nutrition program, expansion of food banks, facilities and programs, creation of new or expansion of temporary residencies for people experiencing homelessness, emergency housing assistance to prevent eviction or homelessness, transitional services to facilitate long-term access to banking, financial literacy programs for the unbanked or underbanked, disproportionately impacted communities, renovation, rehabilitation, maintenance, or costs to secure vacant and abandoned properties, removal and remediation of environmental contaminants from vacant and abandoned properties, demolition or deconstruction of vacant or abandoned buildings, including residential, commercial, or industrial buildings, paired with greening or other lot improvement as part of a strategy for neighborhood revitalization, converting vacant or abandoned properties into affordable housing, neighborhood cleanup programs, development of parks and green spaces, development of recreational facilities, creation of sidewalks, crosswalks, street lights, impacted small businesses, training, consulting, and coaching programs designed to help existing small businesses grow, training, consulting, and coaching programs designed to help individuals start and grow new small businesses, disproportionately impacted small businesses, rehabilitation of commercial properties, storefront improvement programs, facade improvement programs. So that's a list of what they.
Is that a list that you can email all the lists?
Yeah,
I think I remember asking for that Thursday.
I can get you guys this.
So it is.
Would our demolition program for these abandoned houses, would it, could some of that money be?
It sounds like it, demolition for residential, yeah.
So I guess I'm wondering is, impact by COVID, is that one of many qualifiers, or is it like a necessary qualifier? Like it has to be.
From that workshop, it sounded it was a necessary qualifier.
But from that list, it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't see how development of parks and sidewalks it ties into COVID at all.
No.
Mental health.
I mean, you could, yeah, mental health, you can relate it to, you know, because of COVID, people are going to the parks more or spending more recreational time out in the.
That's been like 2 years ago.
Yeah, but COVID is still active and live.
Okay, let me question. You said something about training. I'm all about training, but this had to do only with small businesses. We have a very a large group of population that needs to be trained on all
There's
kinds of
workforce
stuff.
development, There are a number of grants, this is what he's talking about, is just community development grants. And you can bundle these together, you know, so that you have your different layers for your different projects. And then it gives you a total down at the bottom. But, you know, you may have so much in community development, you may have so much in workforce development, you know, there's a bunch of different things through this process.
So
And I apologize, but.
Because the lower number, if I'm correct, it was gonna be a 50% match.
Right.
But we went from there to the 3.5, which knocked it down to
30%.
And they gave us 10 points.
20% match.
which would increase our eligibility to, or
Right.
possibility to get. And it's my understanding, because at MML, they also said the next 3 years is already on the agenda for a large amount of grants are coming out. Like over this next 3 years, this is just the start of a tidal wave of grant opportunities that they're gonna be pushing.
The difference between the 50 and the 20% match that you just referred to, they have brought that up too. They talked about needs-based modification of match. You have to qualify for that. That would determine if you qualify, you get the 20% off. If you don't, you have to have the 50% match. And I was talking to Houston Roberts from MoCan, and he wanted to see if the city would qualify for that.
So we don't even know.
Yeah.
How do we know, how do we know we qualify?
To me, it sounds like you have to apply. Once you apply, then they will determine what the match is at that time. I'm just speculating.
You mean, other than this 2.5 million one, these are other grants? or
No,
this
just
is-
for this grant right here.
I think all this number come out and there wasn't any guidelines to it, so.
Sounds like the government.
Well, I remember us talking Thursday when I said something about throw something against the wall, see if it stick. He said, yes, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions, and when at the end of the workshop, when they had Q&A, like I said, they were specifically answering like funding questions. There were like probably 500 questions that they probably answered 50.
Well, that should also tell them that there's a lot of questions that maybe they.
Confusion.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Maybe what we ought to do is take some of that money, not all of it, because I kind of like what Zach is saying. The city hall really does need to be fixed up. I mean, we're getting all kinds of complaints about, that we've got all this money for everything else, but we don't have money to fix up city hall. But maybe we need to take some of this money and go ahead and do these PERs and have them ready for the next round of grants next year. That's all, because they wanted this within 2 weeks. That was Tuesday night, so 1 week has already gone by. So now we only have another week to get it to MoCan, and then MoCan will do with it what they need to.
And we still don't know anything.
Yeah, and we still don't know anything, right.
And you're right, though, that's been the theme across the state is focus on being ready. Just how can you position yourself to be ready? Because again, everybody knows there's more coming, and so again, that's what, on the utility side, that's what, again, that's kind of our focus is just focus on being prepared for the upcoming potential.
But those cost money to do.
Yes,
Well, right,
yes.
but if we don't have them, we don't include the project, yeah. That's what.
And then
that's
finding
what
the
I said.
specific ones that our money will even be eligible for.
Right, we don't know.
I mean, the second half of their ARPA money. Because I'm like you, if you don't use this second iteration of the ARPA money for City Hall, I have no idea where you're gonna get that funding from. I mean, down the road. I mean, if it was easy to find this, I'm assuming the past councils would have already done it.
Money wasn't being handed out like that in past councils.
Right. But, I mean, I guess my MoCan guy in the back.
I think he was saying that if there was a way for the city of Camden to do it in the past, we would have done it all.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be really hard to come up with regular money in a normal budget year, basically impossible.
Right. There was a huge problem over there, and it took a while to be able to get it fixed. A few years ago. And it was actually pouring in here when we were here.
Yes.
I remember that.
How was it funded when this was done the very first time? Because I know they wouldn't have had enough cash. How was it funded? Does anyone know?
How was what?
Was it bonded, the
I
building?
think it was, wasn't it?
Oh, when they first built it,
Yeah.
is that what you mean?
The
Oh, I-
construction of this?
You guys were around?
Smiley?
This building,
Yeah.
they paid more cash,
They pay cash.
they paid cash.
They paid cash? Wow.
Oh my God.
Good for them.
Were you not on the council then, Danny?
I was the secretary then, I wasn't paying attention.
I remember it was an amazing upgrade. So I guess I would say my recommendation would be to table this till we know something more concrete.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. What happened, we wanted to bring you back some information to update on you. We've been working hard for the last few days. We just couldn't get the information we needed. Tim spent an hour and a half on the conference today, still couldn't get it. We'll continue to get this. We'll bring back to you as soon as we get any concrete information. But this is for discussion only, and we didn't need an answer from you today, but we wanted to give you the best information we had, which unfortunately is not as much as we like.
And I would think that once we can come together as a council, we might want to find out how much the engineering would cost to have it done and on the shelf for whatever projects for the city of Cameron we might want over the next 3 years.
Seems like we have a lot of engineering already done on streets. I just,
Right,
you know.
but we can't use this,
No, I
this.
understand that, but that's
Right.
what I'm saying, we do it for streets.
Right,
We need to do it for other projects.
right.
Yeah.
So, do we need a motion or anything to table?
No, this
It's
is
just a discussion?
Would it be tabled or
Postpone?
We don't table anything.
Okay, we're not tabling.
Postpone.
We're postponing. And I appreciate all the work you guys are doing, I really do, for the Third Street projects. Until we know what we're got and can do, I just don't see that we can move forward yet. Next on the agenda is our second public participation.
Look, no cane.
Yeah, I know, the street's ready. Okay, I am Gina Reed, not related to Ms. Reed. 324 East Fifth. But, you know, you pick your relatives, I'm sure I picked them. I just want to give my reaction as I've been sitting here listening to you talk about COVID and some of the issues that have come about because of it. And I want to talk about the kids who were not in school for almost a year, so they didn't get organized playtime. And people are so terrified to let their kids out that they don't hardly let them outside. And so they're indoors, breathing indoor air and playing on electronic devices. And
That's been a problem before COVID.
true.
The parents that are scared of COVID weren't letting our kids out.
True. Remember the good old days when you went outside and you didn't come back home till dark? Those were good days. But pickleball would be a really good thing for those kids to do. And as far as the Third Street buildings go, I think that is imperative that you get those going. Our county's not gonna have a downtown if very many more of those are lost. I've been working with the Main Street program for a little over a year now, and, you know, what are we gonna do? How can we revitalize an empty lot? That's, you know, I gave a list of things to Steve and Tim that I thought were important, and that was number one. And that's not my baby anymore, but it certainly ought to be everybody's baby. And I'm sorry to sound like I'm chewing on people, and as far as the homeless situation goes here, people do not realize how many there are and how desperate they are. And yes, I realize people in Mexico and Ukraine are in much more physical danger of being bombed or being starved. But it's still hard when everybody else is driving a car or having 3 meals a day, and you know where they're coming from. And I'm speaking for the people that I'm working with personally who are homeless, and they're having a hard time. And just the littlest place of their own would be a great thing. I put that one thing on the list because I thought 12 houses, because if we could house 12 of the people that are homeless, that are at least partially working, because some of them are, and still can't make it, because rent here is so high. You know, if it were pieces of ground that we had, I certainly wouldn't recommend putting 12 little houses on one piece and have a neighborhood, because that just is not, it just never looks good. You know, I know what the limitations of these people are, and I know what they do. I know what they do to yards. But
anyway, I know what they do to houses, but if you build some, I have it on good authority from a local builder that $32,000 will build you a 400 square foot house. Normally, building costs are about $100 a square foot, but you're definitely putting in more of a basic house. And 400 square feet, in case you didn't know, the apartments at Meadow Acres are about 435 square feet.
The apartments where?
At Meadow Acres.
They're a little bit bigger than that. They're about 500.
500, okay. You must have been counting everything, because when I measured the one for the lady I worked for, I said, wow, it was about 435 square feet.
Well, we do have some efficiencies that are a little smaller.
Right. So anyway, and that gives you a bedroom of its own, a bathroom that's nice with a complete tub, shower, sink, a closet with a washer dryer hookup that's for standard washer dryer. And you also get a little living room and a little tiny dining room and a galley kitchen, which is the most efficient kitchen you can have, and a back set, and a front porch. So those things are nice to have for people. I could name probably 12 people right now that would be okay to put into one of those homes, that are working at a job but just have some problems getting a house because it's so hard. I've probably been on the banks for a lot of times here, but we have 5 banks in town, and they can give money enough to put up fireworks, but they can't put up a fund to help people get into housing. No. And as far as other things COVID related, trying to buy a third straight building, and I tried to do that in March of 2020, and the next thing I knew, it was an abandoned, or it was a dangerous building, and then I went to the bank, and they weren't sure of how much the loan would be to, because they were gonna finance me for that purchase price, the money I had, and they were not going to finance me anymore because they did not know how much the repairs would be. And then my business, considering COVID was going on, how long would I be able to not have a face-to-face business with what I needed to do, which was face-to-face? And these are, So anyway, I'm gonna conclude by saying, I'm somewhat disappointed in you that you're not jumping on this money. You can wait all you want. Sometimes you just have to take out a step in faith and you have to do stuff. And people here, it needs to get done. It needs to get done and not wait. Some of these people can't wait till next year.
Anybody else like to address the council? Seeing none. Miscellaneous comments from your staff? Should we be sitting this side, Steve? Get out of the way. No. Okay. Steve?
Mayor, council, here when we were doing the budget, as you know, we have 3 openings at the Cameron Police Department, 2 dispatchers and 1 road officer. We filled one of the dispatch positions pretty quickly, but we're having a hard time filling the dispatch position and the road. So this Thursday, the Cameron Police Department is going to have an open house from 10 to 2. Anyone who's wanting to get in this profession of being a police officer or also in the dispatch can stop by, see a dispatcher, sit down one-on-one with them and kind of talk about how the job is. We'll be giving a tour of the police department and also sit down with candidates for police officer also. So if you guys can spread the word and help us out this Thursday from 10 to 2. So thank you very much.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Chief.
Super.
Do we have a relationship with Missouri Western and their program where they train the officers?
Yeah, several of our officers graduated from there, and they know the lady that works in the front who just retired a little bit ago.
Okay.
We have been in contact with them. We'll be going and speaking to their classes. They do have some people that aren't spoken for yet or be looking for jobs, and their graduations will be coming up. We reached out to, I think it's called Blue Valley. It's Kansas City. They train all the Kansas City police officers. Everyone has spoken for this in the academy right now and already has a job. We're now looking all the way down into Warrensburg. We'll be traveling to Warrensburg sometimes to get their academy class. But right now, every police officer, when I've gone to police conferences, I just went to the Myrna Police Conference. The question is, are you short? It's how short are you? And we're seeing some departments 40 to 50% short at times and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll get it turned around. We're likely we just have 1, but we are looking into those other academies and
very much.
Thank you.
Chief O'Donnell?
No, sir.
Zach?
No, sir.
Counselor? Ms. Shelley?
Staff and some council will be attending the Northwest Regional meeting in Lathrop on Thursday evening. I believe they're going to be talking about employee retention and recruitment. Imagine that. The city will be having first graders touring City Hall Friday morning from 8:30 to 10. So there'll be a whole bunch of little feet in here. I will be out of the office on Friday. And next Monday is the 5th Monday, so we have a 5-Monday month. So our next regular scheduled meeting will be November 7th.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is miscellaneous comments from council.
Yeah, Gina, we're gonna jump on this money, it's just that we need to know how. So, I mean, as you can see, and it's been nice, I'm glad you guys got to hear everything, what we're thinking and what the staff is looking into on how this works, because it is pretty amazingly confusing. So, as soon as we get something, we will decide to step on it if we can. Other than that, March Fest was another hit. Thank you. That was good. Thanks for all the volunteers that came out and did that. Really proud of our community. Keep it up. So, I think that's it.
Thanks to everyone that helped with March Fest. I feel like it was a victory. Other than that, I have nothing.
Is there any estimate how many people that actually brought to town?
I think there was 20.
20 schools. I was just curious if any did or anything. Alex?
I don't have anything.
I think it is a tragedy that Cameron doesn't have a sidewalk that goes to a grocery store. It blows me away. There are things we can do and should do better to make the entire community a better place for everyone. And I appreciate all the work you guys do. Volunteers everywhere in the gallery right now. Keep it up. If we keep going forward, we'll get there. I also would like to thank, I've seen some people comment on social media about how well Cameron received all these bands and families and parents. As mayor, I appreciate it. These big activities, I think it's great. We can put our best foot forward and then start planning for the next one. Other than that, that's all I got. Go Cameron. Next item is executive session. Do we have one? Chair will entertain a motion, or do we have to just go by roll call?
Motion second, and then I'll.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to go to executive session.
Second.
Becky Curtis.
Yes.
Julie Osmond.